Two Idiots, One Girl. Chapter 1, The Pact of Eternal Brotherhood, or something like that. It all started, like most terrible yet hilarious mistakes in life, with pizza. Friday night, my best friend Mark and I were sitting in our usual spot, a shabby but charming pizzeria on the corner of Grover Street. The owner, an old Italian man named Gino, had long since stopped caring whether we paid on time or not. He knew us, knew our order: extra cheese, double pepperoni, and garlic bread that could probably kill a vampire at 20 paces, and knew that we would argue about nonsense for at least 2 hours before leaving. Mark was the kind of guy who could make anyone laugh. He had messy blonde hair that looked like he just escaped a tornado, and the kind of grin that either meant he had a genius idea or was about to destroy property. Usually the latter. I, on the other hand, was considered the responsible one. At least that's what my mom said. But if you asked my teachers, ex-girlfriends, or local law enforcement, they might strongly disagree. We'd been best friends since middle school, the kind of inseparable duo people rolled their eyes at. We had a code, an unspoken set of rules that we claimed made our friendship stronger than anyone else's. One of those rules was simple: never fight over a girl. That night, as I reached for my third slice, Mark leaned back, eyes narrowing in a way that meant trouble. "Dude," he said, wiping tomato sauce from his chin, "I think I've met the love of my life." I laughed so hard I nearly choked on mozzarella. "Sure, Mark, just like the other 7 loves of your life from last month." "This time it's different," he insisted, stabbing the air with his greasy finger. "Her name's Anna, she's smart, funny, gorgeous, I swear, man, she's the one." I rolled my eyes. "The one who's going to dump you in 2 weeks because you forgot her birthday or called her dog ugly." Mark ignored me, pulling out his phone to show me a picture. And that was the moment everything went straight to hell. Because when I saw Anna's photo, my heart did something it hadn't done in a long time. It jumped. Long, dark hair, bright green eyes, a smile that looked like it had been invented in a lab specifically to ruin friendships. She wasn't just pretty, she was magnetic. The kind of girl who could walk into a room and suddenly every guy forgot how to speak English. I quickly looked away, pretending to sip my soda. She's cute," I said, trying to sound casual. Mark leaned forward, grinning like a maniac. "Cute, bro, she's divine, and guess what? She's coming to hang out with us tomorrow at Gino." My brain short-circuited. Tomorrow, us, that meant I was going to meet her too. And just like that, the sacred code, never fight over a girl, was about to be tested in ways neither of us could imagine. The next day I arrived at Gino's earlier than usual. Don't ask me why. I told myself it was because I was starving, but deep down I knew I just wanted a head start. Mark, of course, showed up 10 minutes late, dragging Anna behind him. And let me tell you, photos didn't do her justice. She was radiant. She wore a simple yellow sundress, carried herself with this easy confidence, and when she laughed at one of Mark's dumb jokes, I swear the entire room lit up. "Hey, this is my best friend," Mark said, introducing me with a slap on the back. "We've been through everything together: broken bones, broken hearts, broken video game controllers." Anna smiled at me. "Nice to meet you, I've heard a lot about you." That line usually means one of two things. 1, I've heard you're a decent guy, or 2, I've heard you're a complete disaster and I'm bracing myself. Judging by her smirk, it was probably the second one. We spent the afternoon eating pizza and joking around. And every time she laughed at something I said, a tiny voice in my head whispered, "Oh no, this is bad." See, here's the thing: I wasn't supposed to like her. She was Mark's girl, off limits, totally forbidden, like the last slice of pizza that you promised to split but secretly wanted all for yourself. But as the hours passed, I realized I was in trouble, real trouble. Because the more I talked to Anna, the more I realized we clicked, not in a forced, polite way, in a natural, this just makes sense kind of way. She teased me, I teased her back. She rolled her eyes at Mark's bad jokes but laughed at mine. At one point, when Mark went to the bathroom, she leaned across the table and whispered, "You know, you're nothing like he described." "Oh yeah?" I asked. "What did he say?" She grinned, "That you're a grumpy old man trapped in a 20-something body." I nearly choked on my soda again. "Sounds about right," I admitted. When Mark returned, Anna leaned back, smiling innocently, and I sat there trying not to panic. That night when I got home, I stared at my ceiling for hours. One part of me shouted, "Back off, she's Mark's girl, don't even think about it." Another part whispered, "But what if she's your girl too?" And that's how it began. Two best friends. One girl. And a sacred rule that was about to be shattered. Chapter 2, Trouble in Paradise. The thing about having a crush on your best friend's true love is that it makes everything complicated. Suddenly, every word you say, every laugh you hear, every glance across the table becomes a potential betrayal. And yet, you can't stop. The day after our pizza summit with Anna, Mark texted me. Mark, yo, bowling tonight, 7 p.m. Anna's in. Me bowling, since when do you bowl? Mark, since tonight, gotta show off my athletic side, smiling face with sunglasses. Me, dude, the last time you threw a ball you broke a window. Mark, that was baseball, totally different science. I stared at my phone for a solid minute, wondering if I should mysteriously forget to show up. But curiosity and jealousy got the better of me. By 6:55 I was standing in front of Galaxy Lanes, a neon-drenched, slightly outdated bowling alley that smelled like cheap pizza, shoe spray, and broken dreams. Mark and Anna were already there. He wore a ridiculous headband like he was about to enter the bowling Olympics. Anna looked effortlessly gorgeous in jeans and a t-shirt that said good vibes only. Spoiler alert, there would be very few good vibes that night. Hey, Anna waved when she saw me. Glad you made it. Wouldn't miss it, I said, trying not to sound like a guy who had spent 30 minutes picking out the least wrinkled shirt in his closet. Mark clapped his hands together. All right, team, let's make this interesting. Loser buys milkshakes. Fine by me, I said, slipping on the world's least sanitary bowling shoes. But you should know I was practically born in a bowling alley. That was a lie. The last time I bowled was during a 5th grade birthday party, and I'd ended the night with a gutter ball record so humiliating the staff gave me free candy out of pity. But Mark didn't need to know that. The first few frames went as expected. Mark was all talk and no accuracy. His ball rolled into the gutter so many times I started to wonder if he was doing it on purpose. Anna, on the other hand, was surprisingly good. She had this graceful throw that sent pins scattering like terrified chickens. Then it was my turn. I took a deep breath, lined up the shot, and let the ball roll. To my shock and Mark's horror, it was a strike. What? Mark shouted, throwing his hands in the air. Since when can you bowl? I shrugged, trying to act casual. Beginner's luck. But when I hit another strike 2 turns later, even Anna was impressed. Wow, she said, clapping, you're really good. And there it was, that smile again, that smile that made my brain short-circuit. Mark noticed. Oh, he definitely noticed. The rest of the game turned into an unspoken competition. He started exaggerating his throws, flexing his arms, and laughing way too loud at Anna's jokes. I, in turn, kept hitting spares and strikes like my life depended on it. At one point, Anna leaned over to me and whispered, I think he's trying too hard. I nearly dropped my ball on my foot. By the time the game ended, the scoreboard was brutal. Me 156 points. Anna 120 points. Mark 67 points and a bruised ego. Well, I said, trying not to gloat, looks like someone owes us milkshakes. Mark forced a smile. Yeah, don't get too cocky, I was just warming up. Sure you were, I teased. We headed to the snack bar where Mark went off to order drinks. That left me alone with Anna, dangerous territory. So, she said, sipping her water, you and Mark have been friends forever, huh? Since middle school, I nodded. We've survived bad haircuts, worse girlfriends, and one very traumatic camping trip involving raccoons. She laughed, leaning closer. He talks about you all the time, you know, says you're like a brother. I swallowed hard. Yeah, we kind of made this stupid pact when we were kids to always have each other's backs, no matter what. That's sweet, she said. Then, with a mischievous glint in her eye, she added, so what happens if you both like the same girl? I froze. For a split second I thought she knew, that somehow she could read my mind and was testing me. I forced a laugh. Oh, we don't talk about that rule, it's complicated. Before she could press further, Mark returned with 3 milkshakes and a grin that looked a little too forced. The rest of the night went smoothly enough, but something had shifted. For the first time in years, I felt Mark looking at me differently, like I wasn't just his best friend, I was competition. And judging by the way Anna smiled at me when Mark wasn't looking, he wasn't entirely wrong. That night when I got home, I collapsed on my bed, staring at the ceiling like it had all the answers. I knew this was only the beginning. The sacred rule wa. Chapter 4, Pizza, Lies, and Jealousy. If you want to test the strength of any relationship, friendship, romance, or otherwise, just throw pizza into the mix. Pizza reveals all truths. By the time the next Friday rolled around, things between me and Mark were tense. Not openly hostile, not yet, but there was a weird energy, like static in the air before a storm. We still joked around, still texted memes, but there were long silences too. Moments where I caught him watching me with this look, like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't like the answer to. And then came the text. Mark, Gino tonight, 6, don't be late, Anna's coming. I stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to fake food poisoning and hide under a blanket forever. Another part, the reckless part, was already reaching for my jacket. By 5:55, I was walking into Gino's, the smell of melted cheese and oregano wrapping around me like a guilty hug. Anna was already there, sitting in our booth. She looked up and waved, and I swear time slowed down like a cheesy rom-com. She had her hair tied back, a few strands falling loose, and she wore a denim jacket that looked like it belonged in a vintage movie. Hey, she said, smiling, glad you made it. Wouldn't miss it, I replied, sliding into the booth, my go-to line by now. Mark showed up a minute later, dropping into the seat beside her. Sorry, traffic was insane, he said, though judging by the soda in his hand, he'd clearly stopped at the gas station first. We ordered our usual, extra cheese, double pepperoni, garlic bread. At first, everything seemed normal. We talked about school, movies, how our gym teacher clearly had a vendetta against humanity. Anna laughed at one of my sarcastic comments, and for half a second I forgot Mark was even there. That was my first mistake. Because when I glanced up, I caught Mark watching me, not smiling, not joking, just watching. The pizza arrived, and that's when things got messy, literally and figuratively. Anna reached for a slice at the same time I did. Our fingers brushed. Electricity, a stupid cliché, but it was real. She laughed, pulling back. Sorry, go ahead. No, you first, I said quickly, like some kind of knight defending the sacred pepperoni. Mark's eyes narrowed. Wow, he said, picking up his own slice. Didn't know pizza was such a romantic experience. Anna rolled her eyes. Oh, stop, we just reached at the same time. But Mark wasn't letting it go. Yeah, sure, totally innocent, just like the bowling alley, huh? I froze mid-bite. What's that supposed to mean? He shrugged, chewing. Nothing, just that you two seemed awfully cozy. Anna laughed again, brushing it off. We were just playing, Mark, don't be dramatic. But I could feel his eyes boring into me. The rest of dinner was awkward. Every joke I made, Mark countered with a louder one. Every time Anna asked me a question, he jumped in with an answer. It was like dueling banjos, but with sarcasm instead of music. Finally, when Anna excused herself to the restroom, Mark leaned across the table. All right, he said in a low voice, what's going on? I blinked. What do you mean? Don't play dumb, you like her. The words hit me like a bowling ball to the chest. No, I started, but he cut me off. Dude, I know you, I've seen that look before, you're into her. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My brain was a traffic jam of excuses, half-truths, and sheer panic. Mark shook his head, leaning back. Unbelievable, after all these years, after the rule. I felt my stomach twist. It's not like that, I said weakly. Oh yeah, he snapped, then what is it like? Before I could answer, Anna returned, cheerful and completely oblivious. So, she said, sliding back into the booth, what did I miss? Nothing, we both said at the same time. She raised an eyebrow. Sure. The rest of the night was a blur. We paid the bill, said our goodbyes, and walked Anna home. She chatted the whole way, completely unaware that the two idiots beside her were locked in a silent Cold War. When she finally waved goodnight and disappeared inside her apartment building, Mark turned to me. Look, he said, his voice tight, I don't care what happens, she's with me, got it? I nodded slowly, my throat dry, got it. But as I walked home alone, one thought kept repeating in my head over and over. What if she doesn't want to be? That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about Anna's laugh, the way she nudged me at the park, the way her eyes lingered just a little too long. And I kept thinking about Mark, the guy who'd been like a brother to me since middle school. I was stuck between the girl who made my heart race and the friend who'd always had my back. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Pizza had revealed the truth. and jealousy was about to do the rest. Chapter 5, When Best Friends Become Rivals. You ever see two monkeys fighting over a banana? That was me and Mark for the next 2 weeks. Except the banana was a human being named Anna, and the whole situation was infinitely less dignified. It started small. Mark began showing up everywhere Anna was. If she had a coffee break, he just happened to be there too. If she mentioned liking a certain band, suddenly he was their biggest fan. He even bought a guitar at a yard sale and tried to learn one of their songs. He gave up after 2 days when he realized playing guitar hurt his fingers and his soul. Not to be outdone, I found myself doing equally stupid things. Anna casually mentioned once that she loved dogs. Next thing I knew, I was volunteering at the local shelter despite being mildly allergic to anything with fur. She showed up to see me in action, and I nearly sneezed myself into a coma while trying to look heroic scooping kibble. It became a full-on competition. Who could make her laugh louder? Who could carry her bag when it looked heavy? Who could hold the door open faster without slamming it into the other guy's face? To outsiders, it probably looked like slapstick comedy. To us, it felt like war. One day after class, Anna mentioned she needed help studying for a math test. Mark immediately said, "I'll help you, I'm basically a math genius." I choked. "Math genius? You once thought a hexagon was a kind of dinosaur." Mark glared, "Better than whatever you are." Anna, wisely, suggested we all study together, which led to one of the most unproductive tutoring sessions in human history. Mark tried to impress her with creative methods that mostly involved drawing stick figures. I, on the other hand, went full nerd, over-explaining equations until Anna's eyes glazed over. By the end, she sighed and said, "Honestly, I think I'd learn more from YouTube." Mark and I exchanged looks. We were losing. The rivalry escalated further at Gino. It started as another normal pizza night but quickly turned into a testosterone circus. Who could eat the most garlic bread? Who could tell the best story? Who could balance a fork on their nose longer? At one point, Mark tried to impress Anna by arm wrestling me right there in the booth. "Best friend showdown," he announced. "Winner gets bragging rights." "Winner gets stupidity," I muttered, but I still grabbed his hand. We strained and grunted, knocking over sodas while Anna covered her face in embarrassment. Finally, I slammed his hand down, victorious. "Ha," I cheered, "guess who's weak now?" Mark rubbed his wrist, scowling. "Whatever, I let you win." Anna groaned, "You two are unbelievable." But here's the thing, she was smiling just a little, and that tiny smile kept both of us going even when we looked ridiculous. By the end of that week, our friendly rivalry was anything but. We weren't hanging out just the two of us anymore. Every plan had to involve Anna, every joke had to land in her direction, every move felt like it had consequences. The rule we'd sworn to protect, the one we never talked about, was shattered. And it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. Chapter 6, The Crash. It happened on a Saturday night. Anna had invited us both to a small house party at her friend's place. Nothing huge, just music, snacks, people sitting around playing card games, but to us, it was another battlefield. Mark showed up in a leather jacket he'd borrowed from his cousin, clearly trying to look like James Dean. I showed up in my nicest button-down, which unfortunately had a salsa stain I hadn't noticed until it was too late. The party started fine. We mingled, laughed, tried not to look like idiots, but the tension was bubbling under the surface. Then came the fateful moment, karaoke. Anna, smiling, asked, "So, which one of you is brave enough to sing?" Mark jumped up immediately. "I'll do it, gotta show off the pipes." He chose a dramatic love ballad. His voice cracked on the high notes, but he sold it with passion, arms flailing like a rock star. People clapped politely. Then someone yelled, "Your turn," and shoved the mic at me. I panicked, but when I looked at Anna, she was smiling expectantly, so I did it. I sang, badly, horribly, like a cat being chased by lawnmowers, but I made it funny, changing lyrics, humming it up. The crowd roared with laughter. In Anna, she laughed the loudest. That was the spark. Mark saw it, I saw it, and suddenly we weren't just two friends at a party, we were rivals in the spotlight. Later, outside by the porch, it finally exploded. Mark shoved me lightly, but his voice was sharp. "You think this is funny, stealing my thunder?" I shoved back, "I'm not stealing anything, you're the one treating her like a trophy." She's not a trophy, he snapped, she's my girlfriend. That word girlfriend hit me like a punch. Is she? I shot back, because it doesn't look like she's into you the way you think. His face darkened.